good y'all, and welcome to my review of Night 1 of Takeover Stand and Deliver. And holy fuck, did they deliver. My god. Takeover Stand and Deliver Night 1. Night 1, this is just Night 1. We all thought this, oh, this is going to be a night compared to the card we got for Night 2. This is just Night 1. We can only imagine Night 2. But Night 1 was fucking phenomenal. This felt like a takeover, really for the first time probably since Portland. Because, well, first off, the staging looked amazing, and I love the logo they had for Stand Clear Power. You guys hear anything else in the background? You're probably hearing some wind. Hopefully it's not affecting the audio too much, because I have the window open. It's hot outside, or at least was earlier today. So if you guys hear anything else, that's what we're hearing. Anyway, so this show, I love the staging. I love what they did with the Capital Wrestling Center for this night. But without it, the biggest plus that we found had is that there were a lot more fans in it. In attendance tonight than we've had in previous NXT tapings. There was a lot more people. It looked low-key pretty packed, honestly. It was almost like we were finally back to the days of Full Sail when they were like packed, 500 people, you know, all that shit. It probably wasn't that many, but compared to what we've been used to, it felt like we were back in like an arena. And you can tell the crowd were loud and they were into this match from start, which made TakeOver feel that much more special and made it feel like TakeOver again. It was amazing. The card was phenomenal. Tommaso Ciampa and Walter, my fucking Christ. What a war that was, man. But yeah, TakeOver was awesome tonight. We got another night tomorrow. And with all that being said, guys, let's just jump right into the actual show and discuss it, because, man, this was such an amazing night of wrestling. So the show started off fast and furious. We had Pete Dunne and Kushida give you a technical masterpiece to start the show off. And man, was it fantastic. They started off fast and furious. Pete Dunne instantly goes for like a triangle choke, which then it goes from just Kushida and Pete Dunne just countering each other's counters, submissions, and fucking joint manipulation, the whole 9 yards from Pete Dunne. But man, it was such a fantastic way to not, like, you had I loved all the ways they, like, the creative ways they, like, put the submissions to, like, block them from getting from rope breaks, or countering submissions when they got the rope break to bring it back so they didn't really have to let go of the hold, or at least before they got rid of it. Like, Pete, or like with Kushida, he locked him inside into like he locked him in like some kind of like I believe it was like an arm bar or something, and then he's like or there might have been actually the hoverboard lock. The hoverboard lock, he did the whole thing where he like grabs him on the top rope and throws him down to the ground onto the mat and then locks it in. He does that, and of course he does that, and you know Pete doesn't have much where to go, but then he kind of like squirms over a way and manages to get his hand onto the rope, but then eventually he counters it, grabs that hand that got to the ropes, and then pulls it back and like locks it in another submission, and then Pete has to like break it up throughout with his leg. And then you had another one later on where like Pete countered the submission into a pin, which then Kushida kicked out of, but then Pete Dunne instantly got his foot on the rope to break the hold. And then another one where he had another one he locked the hoverboard lock, when this time he was wrapped around Pete Dunne's midsection. He has his legs wrapped around him, and so he had like one hand, and then Pete was reaching for the rope for the other hand, but then Kushida countered by moving to the other hand, to the other arm. It was fucking brilliant to watch. But anyway, after all the joint manipulations and submission counters and shit, Pete Dunne wins the match with the bitter end. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic match to start the show. I also can see these guys maybe having another rematch on NXT when it moves to Tuesday next week, which, you know, as you guys know, NXT is moving to Tuesdays. I think it's for the best. NXT wasn't really doing all that well in the reigns against AEW. We all know the reason why they did it anyway. So it's best for both parties for them to be on their own separate nights, not competing with each other. Anyway, so that's my take on the whole thing of NXT moving to Tuesday nights. Then next up, we have the Gauntlet Eliminator match with Swerve Scott, Leon Ruff, Cameron Grimes, Dexter Lumis, and LA Knight. You had Isaiah Swerve Scott and Leon Ruff start the match off. Well, actually, Leon's music starts playing. He makes his entrance, but then he ends up but then we see he's just crawling with Isaiah right behind him. So obviously attack before. They have a little bit of brawl back and forth before they start the match off with actually Leon Ruff like throwing Isaiah Scott into like onto like the barricade area, and he like launches toward it, looked like he was about to kick his fucking head off, but Isaiah Scott manages to dodge out of the way. So they keep fighting. Eventually, the other competitors start to come in. Also, Bronson Reed was another one. I almost forgot to mention him. They go down. You have, of course, with Cameron, you had a fucking Bronson Reed just sitting on people like he's fucking Yokozuna. He did this like twice on poor Leon Ruff, which first of all, you gotta say, man, can that fucker sell? Leon Ruff, like, I don't really like Leon Ruff as a wrestler. Not my kind of thing. I just don't believe into him. But I will say the motherfucker can sell. So he was also the first to get eliminated, by the way, was Leon Ruff. So he gets squashed a couple times. They keep going at the other kid. Cameron Grimes comes in there and he like tries to bribe off, Isaiah Scott with money, but I've been loving Cameron Grimes' new gimmick, the whole thing when he thinks he's like fucking Ted DiBiase, and I love the new matches. Me where like kiss my grits. I fucking love that shit, man. I love Cameron Grimes, man. He's so good. Absolutely love him. So everyone else gets in there. You then actually get LA Knight comes in there. He makes a promo, trying to basically burying everybody, but so they keep going. But then probably the weirdest part of the match was, or more surprising part of the match rather, was that Dexter Lumis got eliminated. And it wasn't like he was like one of the last eliminations. I think he was still one of the earlier ones. I want to say he was maybe like the second or third person eliminated. But what happened is that Dexter Lumis had his submission on into Cameron Grimes. But then LA Knight comes in there, like grabs his legs, and then flips him over into like a cradle or whatever you call his pin, and pins him 1, 2, 3. I was shocked because I thought Dexter Lumis was gonna win. He was gonna face off against Johnny on night 2 because of the storyline with the way that's been going on for a couple weeks with Bob Wade. Been loving the storyline with the way and everything, Austin Theories. Although I was like both laughing and not surprised at the fact that Indy Hartwell has a thing for Dexter Lumis because, of course, women be dumbasses and think so fucking serial killers are hot and shit. You know how some women be, especially younger, especially like teenagers and shit. They even had their own little like ship name. It was called like Index, I think is what they called themselves. Fucking hilarious. I had a bell a lot. Listen to that on commentary. So that was pretty funny. But anyway, so yeah, he gets pinned by LA Knight. I was shocked. JD was shocked. We were all shocked because we all thought he was winning. So at that point, I was like, okay, I don't see Cameron Grimes winning. It's either going to be Bronson Reed or it's going to be Isaiah. It ended up being Bronson. So the rest of the match continues on. The others get eliminated. And then we're down with Isaiah and Bronson. They start going at it. And then they go at each other. And then Bronson goes for his patented tsunami splash, which you couldn't pay me to take. Rip to fucking Isaiah Scott for taking that bump, because I'm sure it must have sucked because you couldn't pay me to take that. But anyway, man, he wins the match 1, 2, 3, and we're facing up Johnny Gargano on night 2. Great match. Great follow-up, and this was another one where like back-to-back bangers. Man, this feels like a takeover, man. So then after that, we had Tommaso Ciampa versus Volta, which, bruh. This was match of the night. This might be match of the entire goddamn show. Probably not, because we got Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly in a elimination match on night 2. You got Johnny night 2, and you also got Finn Balor and Karrion Kross night 2. So it probably won't be, considering the matches on night 2. But, bruh, for night 1, match of the night, easy. This was a fucking war between Tommaso Ciampa and Walter. Now, I didn't expect Tommaso Ciampa to win this match because we all know that Tommaso Ciampa said himself that if he ever got called into the main roster, he would retire because of his family and everything, and his injuries. So I didn't expect, because he wouldn't do that, I didn't expect him to win the championship and then move to the UK and fight on NXT UK, unless they were going to merge them together. Unless NXT was planning on merging the divisions or having a lot more NXT UK talent coming in for NXT. Unless they were going to do any of that, Walter was going to keep the belt, which has been having the belt for 2 years now. For me, now I haven't watched a lot of of Walter's Takeover matches, at least the UK ones. I still haven't seen Cardiff 2 or whatever those two matches are that everyone was talking about with Walter that were on NXT UK NXT UK takeovers. Haven't seen either of them. Haven't had the chance yet. You know, sue me, whatever, call me a fake wrestling fan, whatever. I just haven't found the time to watch either of those matches yet. But anyway, from the matches I have seen, this is without a doubt Walter's best match. This match was it was a war. These two were absolutely good. First up, I gotta say, I love the fact that Tommaso Ciampa kind of like brought back the old Ciampa where he shaved his head again, he's bald once again, no more of his gray hair, and he went back to his usual trunks. Bringing back that old 2018 Tommaso Ciampa that we all loved back when he was NXT champion. Which, fun fact, it actually took me a while to even notice the fact that he actually let his hair grow for once. It took me like a few months it took me a bit to actually realize, oh shit, he actually let his hair grow. No shit, so now he's not bald anymore. But yeah, so I instantly noticed once he shaved it though. So yeah, and so these two just start going at it. They have an absolute battle, man. Of course, you got Walter chopping the shit out of Tommaso Ciampa. You could see the man's fucking soul leave his body from how hard this man was getting chopped. You, like fucking Bronson Reed's fucking tsunami splash. You could pay me to take a chop from Walter. But speaking of his chops, we got top of the spot. Now, I don't know if the table was gimmicked or this legit happened. So, they're on the outside. Tommaso Ciampa's already taken a decent number of hits and a decent number of chops from Walter. They're on the outside. Tommaso Ciampa's leaning against the announce table. You guys know that there's that little bridge thing or that little panel there that has the logo of the pay-per-view /takeover on the commentary table that covers up the TVs and everything that the commentators use. Y'all know that. So, my man Ciampa is leaned up against this. Walter puts his hand ready to chop him. My man dodges out of the way, but Walter hits the table, and he hits it so hard that it legit breaks in half. That panel legit breaks in half, breaking the wood. There was a decent long, crack or whatever you want to say. It legit completely breaks in half. Now, like I said, I don't know if that was gimmicked to make Walter to really show off how tough Walter's chops are, or my man is legitimately that fucking strong. Or my man Chopper just that powerful, where first off, the man probably broke his head if that was the case. My man probably broke his head, or at least severely fucked it up for the match, because you can see later on the match, his chops were nowhere near as powerful as they were, whether that was selling or not. After this, my man's hand was not the same for the rest of the match. But that was fucking insanity. That spot was absolute insanity, man. I was like, holy shit. And you legit see it later on the show, and you just see it's legit broken in half. It's fucking crazy. The strength of this man's hands. So then they keep going at it. These two are just absolutely beating the ever-living shit out of each other. Ciampa tries to get Willow's bell in a couple times. Never can quite get it. He goes for the air raid crash, kicks out. Fairy tale ending, kick out. Goes for the air raid crash from I think he did an air raid crash from the top rope. 2, kick out. At least I think he did. It might have just been the one air raid crash he did normally. But anyway, he did an air raid crash, kick out. So then my man is leaned up against the ropes, and then Ciampa, for at least a solid it had to have been at least 2 minutes, is trying to get Walter off this man's feet. He's hitting him with these clotheslines, and as Walter is just slowly making his way back to the ropes. My man makes it to the ropes, he's leaning against the ropes, and then Ciampa just goes back and forth, with just hitting clotheslines on Walter, trying to get this man over the rope or off his feet or something, and just does it for a solid 2 minutes. And it's just bad to say. So then Walter ends up just chopping Ciampa, but then my man Ciampa gets right back up, screaming his head up. My man looking like he's about to go fucking Super Saiyan over here, and then finally takes him down to the ground. That was fucking brilliant, man. Absolutely fucking brilliant. So then, eventually, Walter starts targeting on Ciampa's neck, hits him with this thing where he had his legs sandwiching his head, twists him to make it seem like he's breaking his neck. Then, as if the match wasn't crazy enough, my man hits 2 power bombs on Ciampa, then puts his entire weight, which mind you, Walter is a big motherfucker. That man, I don't know how much he actually weighs. I forget how much they said when they were doing the following contest, the whole introductions. But my man has to be at least over 250 pounds. And you know what happens? My man Ciampa still kicks out of it. How? I don't know. My man must have been really hitting them weights for anticipation for this match, because I don't know how the hell he kicked out of that. But anyway, Ciampa then hits him with another chop, and which finally takes Ciampa down, and Walter retains the UK Championship. Brilliant match, without a doubt, match of the night, and it was just a sight to behold of this, the war and these two put themselves through. It was fucking brilliant. So then we had the tag team match between Legado del Fantasma, the grizzled young veterans soon to be recognized. I fucking love the grizzled young veterans, you couldn't tell. And MSK. Now, for me personally, I thought the grizzled young veterans were going to win this match. They've been the finals of the Dusty Classic 2 years in a row. They haven't won. They haven't won the NXT Tag Team Championships yet here, but I believe they won them in the UK for NXT UK. So I thought this was their time. This was their moment. They were finally going to get it. Nope. MSK ended up winning this match. Which, I mean, I'm kind of conflicted on that. Like, on the one hand, I completely get it. It's obvious that Triple H and NXT are very high on MSK, and they're a great tag team. I'm sure they're going to do a great job building back up the tag team vision with the grizzled young veterans to try to rebuild the tag team vision. Back to what it used to be a couple years ago with NXT. But at the same time, I felt like it would have been better if the grizzled young veterans got it. I feel like that was finally their moment. MSK could wait and have them just chase the championship, but I mean, I could also, because I'm such a big fan of the Grizzled Young Veterans recently, they just wanted to win the title, so I might just be biased here, but I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on it. It makes sense. I get it. I'm not, I don't hate the decision or nothing, but yeah, I kind of wish that it was the Grizzled Young Veterans instead. But yeah, anyway, this match was absolute lunacy. Fucking suicide dives, and fucking topes, and fucking coast to coast, and fucking. It was just lunacy. This, after a while, you didn't even know who was even the legal man anymore. It just got crazy with all the high flying shit. I mean, it was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but fuck me, after a while, you just lost track of everything. So, anyway, the match was great. So you had everyone started going at it. Yeah, eventually, like I said, you had, MSK. Well, first, you had, the white dude of MSK. I'm slipping on the man's name. He, he had the black dude, something Lee. He was, on his, hands and knees, and then dude used him as, a fucking platform, jumped off then jumped off the top rope from there, grabbed landed on the guys, then he got into the action, and then Legado del Fantasma, one of the members jumped off the top while the other one did a suicide dive through the turnbuckles, through the second and third turnbuckles into a suicide dive, landing into there. It was just straight lunacy, man. It was amazing to watch, and then eventually at the end of it, you were left with the Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK. They were staring each other down like it was fucking war games. Of course, the crowd was going crazy. NXT, NXT. The crowd was going crazy, and then they just started pummeling the shit out of each other. They started going at it. For a bit for the last two members. MSK, or not MSK. The Grizzled Young Veterans had their own doomsday device on the outside as well. And then at the end, MSK ended up winning the match. And would become the new NXT Tag Team Champions. Like I said before, I don't hate the decision. It makes sense. I get it, but at the same time, I felt like it should have been MSK that were the ones that won the match. Also, but this is probably the fat match, the spot of the night of the match where you had Zach Gibson locking in a submission on Lee, and then the other member of MSK comes in there and tries to get. It reminded me a lot of that one match of the ending of the of the match between DIY and the Revival when like one of the members of the Revival, I forget the dude's name, had Johnny like a submission and Tommaso was in a submission and they were like grabbing each other's hands, or it might have been switched where they were like grabbing each other's hands, telling each other not to tap. So man, I'm a sucker for those kind of spots, man. It looked fucking awesome, but yeah, he had the submission locked in there. He told they were like he made fucking him. The other dude man to like grab his hand before he started tapping. He told him like, don't tap that. It's like I'm a sucker for these kind of spots, man. Those spots are just awesome. But anyway, like I said before, MSK are your new NXT Tag Team Champions. Congratulations to them. They deserved it. They're a fantastic tag team. I love watching them work. They're such a joy to watch. But like I said before, I kind of wish it was the Wrestling Young Veterans instead. But I'm sure they'll do right for those championships. And hopefully this is the start of NXT building back up the tag team division back to its former years back in like 2018 and such when that was the shit. You know, with like the Revival and the War Raiders and all that shit. So anyway, with all that being said, we then had the main event between Io Shirai and Raquel Gonzalez. This match, once again, was fucking awesome, man. I absolutely loved it. Yes, so you had them, so this match once again started fast and furious with Io charging right towards Raquel, but Raquel grabbed her and like threw her into the barrack and threw her into the corner, man, and just started doing like I don't know, doing that thing where she just like drives into her or whatever. And these two just went at each other for a while. It was such a great match. And then eventually Dakota got involved, trying to take down Io. The ref took her out, so they kept going. Eventually, you had Io like dive off the skull on like at the end of the ramp on the staging, which looked fucking amazing. Godspeed to that woman, how she didn't break her knees or break her legs from that fall. Because it was like what 27 or 28 feet, I think is how tall it was. From what Ray Barrett said, man, but it was an amazing spot. Io ended up going for the moonsault. She hit it perfectly. Same thing. 1, 2, kick out. I was shocked. Io was shocked. That was pretty much like the first time able to kick out. So at that point, you kind of knew that Raquel was going to win this match, which she did. She ended up hitting that like choke slam, power bomb thing she does, and ended up winning the match. So yeah, Raquel Gonzalez is your new NXT Women's Champion. I'm down for this. Now, does this mean that this is the end for Io? Possibly. This could mean this is the end for Io Shirai in NXT, and she'll get buried on the main roster. I hope that's not the case. I hope that Io stays on NXT, but what more does she have to do? Then again, we said the same thing about Shayna, and she stayed for NXT for another like 6 months or whatever it was. We were all saying like, oh, she's getting called up now. Oh, she's getting called up now. She's getting called up. She didn't. She just kept retaining the title, and she just stayed there for as long as she could. So maybe they could be doing the same thing with Io. Maybe they're just going to keep her on NXT for as long as possible. Or this could be the end and she's going to get called up. Which if she does, she's fucked. Like, they couldn't get Asuka right. They couldn't get Kairi Sane right. They ain't going to get Io right, you know. It sucks, but we'll have to wait and see in the coming weeks of NXT and see if she ends up appearing on Raw next week. We'll have to wait and see on all that. But besides that, NXT was a fantastic show. This was NXT Takeover. Sandler was night 1 anyway. It was a fantastic show, worthy of the Takeover moniker, and I fucking loved it, man. So overall, I am going to give this Takeover, I should say, a 10 out of 10. Like always, guys, I'm always giving Takeovers 10. Except what was In Your House was like the one that I gave like a 9 to. But even then, that was still amazing show. But that was ever the weakest Takeover I saw. But yeah, man, tomorrow we got night 2. Which, by the way, for me, when I watch the show, now I live on the West Coast, so that means that the show starts earlier before everyone else on the West Coast, on the East Coast rather. Now, because of that, my cable right here, when I watch TV, it's all they don't like reset the time. So like, oh, if the show starts on like 8 o'clock on the East Coast, that means it's gonna start at 5 on the West Coast, unless it's like basketball games and such. You ain't getting that. So I looked up on USA to see if maybe they did this. Maybe they were going to do Takeover at 5 or not. They didn't, so I ended up pulling up a live stream of the Takeover to watch it. So I didn't have, so instead of just waiting and then risking getting spoilers and having to wait and not even being able to do the review until like tomorrow or something, I wanted to make sure I get it done. So I watched the live stream of it, which was via the Peacock stream. So, and because it's on Peacock, the Peacock stream did not get commercial breaks. The only problem with that is that the audio would fade out for like 3 seconds for them to go into the picture-in-picture, and then when they came out of the picture-in-picture, they would fade out the audio for another 3 seconds and be dead silence before it went back in there. That was about the only problem with it, but whatever. But that was probably my only gripe with the show was that whole thing. But whatever. It's probably whatever they gotta do to edit it for like don't get the commercials or whatever. It wasn't that big of a deal. Didn't bother me that much, but kind of. But it didn't bother me didn't bother me that much. I should rather say. Anyway, guys, tell me down below what you guys thought of Takeover Stand and Deliver Night 1. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Is this your favorite Takeover? For me personally, this is the best Takeover we got from the pandemic era. Easy, I would wager I put this up with like some of the takeovers we got recently before the pandemic, like Portland, all that stuff. I'd probably put them up with those takeovers, man. Because this felt like a fucking takeover. Anyway, guys, so enough of me rambling. This is where I'm going to do this. Like I said before, let me down in the comments if you guys saw the show, all that jazz. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you do. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time. You